Hey, Flooring Bros. I'm Jerry Levinson, and this is the Flooring Business Podcast. So each week I bring you guests on marketing, flooring materials, tools, other retailers, or anyone who I think that can help you in your flooring business. The Flooring Business Podcast is brought to you by Ring Ring Marketing. So if you're tired of not getting good results from marketing efforts, give Ring Ring a call for a free audit of your website and other marketing opportunities in your area. We're going to do something a little bit different today on this show. I decided to put together, I was having this conversation with my wife about just the journey that I went through and all the things I had to do that were out of the ordinary. So there are some areas that you're stuck in, maybe getting capital, hiring employees, getting into a building, deciding to buy a business, deciding to sell a business, marketing, so many different things, designing your showroom, that I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I had to do things that didn't follow any kind of ordinary path. And the reason I'm doing this is because I know you're on this path as well. Actually, what really spurred this was I was talking to a flooring dealer who is buying his materials from another company because he felt that that was an easier way to go about things. And it's very complicated to find out and source materials in the flooring industry. It's hard to get suppliers to sign you up. And I'm like, dude, figure it out. I mean, it's worth several $100,000 to you to be able to source the material and sell the material yourself. Incredible opportunities if you don't take the easy way out and figure it out. And that's what a lot of us have to do in business, especially small business owners, people, mom, pa, starting installers that want to become retailers, installers that want to sell direct to consumers. You got to figure it out. I mean, there's things that you got to get on a whiteboard and write stuff down, figure it out, and have discussions about it with your peers, mentors. Talk to people that can help you figure things out, or go on a long drive. I mean, listen to audio tapes. There are ways that will spur figuring things out. One of the things I love doing is taking that little shot of 5 Hour Energy, puts my mind on fire. So I do that every day anyway. But I found that when I started doing them, it really put my mind on fire, and I was able to figure a lot of things out. So I want to walk down memory lane with you guys here and just go back to back in the days when I was in the window covering industry, and we're coming on 2008 and 2009. Economy's crashing around us. There's just a lot of shit going on, and I got to figure stuff out, man. I gotta figure this thing out because it's destroying me. It's my only source of income. What am I going to do? Am I going to lose my house? How are we going to feed my family? I've got employees. Do I have to let them go? Just a lot of things to try and figure out. And I did figure out some things financially, tried to avoid bankruptcy, and went down this journey, and it didn't work out. And I still ended up having to go through a bankruptcy. Meanwhile, I'm renting this place that's costing me, it's only $3,000 a month. At that time, it was a lot of money for me, and I couldn't afford it. I hadn't been paying the rent for a while, but even their anchor tenant was huge. They stopped paying the rent. They moved out. I mean, everybody was suffering. Everybody was suffering. It was a very difficult time in America and probably across the world, because the economy was collapsing, absolute collapse. Um, but we had to get creative and figure some stuff out. I was able to, at that time, file bankruptcy, and I took my time, did it very slowly, and saved up as much cash and money on the side as I could. And I also continued operating my business. Now, in the bankruptcy, if I was fortunate enough, I didn't have to file on any of my suppliers. So I was able to keep my business relationships solid. And I was also able to keep the name of my company. It's one of the things I tell people, advise them, that get an LLC that is separate from the name of your company. name your company after a DBA. And there's certain advantages to that. You can have that legal entity, that LLC. It'll serve you in many ways. It'll help you get bank loans. The longer you have the LLC, the better it is. So it'll help you in getting those bank loans. And then if you want to name your company, you name it as a DBA. If it turns out you don't like the name and you have to change it, you only have to change the DBA. You don't have to change your LLC and kind of start over again. So you can establish all your accounts with your suppliers and merchant service and all that through your LLC, but keep your DBA as the face of your company. It's going to be what you use on your website and your marketing, and it'll be the name of your company. You can open up bank accounts with a DBA, so that's affiliated with an LLC. Also, if you go to sell your company, you could sell the DBA and in essence keep your LLC intact. So you want to get advice of an attorney and other people on that. I've had that experience twice. And the first time they requested that I did not only sell them the name, but that I closed down my LLC. When I had to go through a bankruptcy, I was able to go through a personal bankruptcy, not a business one. I just shut down my LLC. I kept my business name, which was called Blind Devotion, and I didn't. There was no repercussions. I don't know if it was a normal time, if there may have been more creditors and more problems, but the fact is there were so many bankruptcies at that time that nobody even gave you a second look because just everybody was going through it. Now, I didn't want to use that as the excuse for failing in business. I felt like I failed. I don't care that the economy was collapsing around and everybody was going through it. I still felt like had I done things properly, I probably could have avoided that. So I needed to get more creative. I needed to get smarter about how I ran my business. I needed to learn more about marketing and about people and how they shop and how they buy. So I knew everything there was to know about blinds and shutters. And I was the smartest guy in town when it came to blinds and shutters and installing them and servicing, taking care of my customers. And I learned that being the smartest guy in my product wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. I needed to learn about marketing. I need to learn about attracting customers. Because to me, if once you know marketing, once you have the ability to attract customers, you're set for life. I mean, you can do any business, anything that you do. You don't have to be the best at what you do, but if you're the best at attracting customers, you're going to outperform the person who's the best at what they do every time. So, and you might not like that, especially if you're a flooring installer that's really good at what you do. You might not like that, but it's our hard truth, and you need to learn it, that being the best at what you do won't get you necessarily where you want to go. You still need some of those business skills. You need to learn how to attract customers in marketing and get better at that. I started looking and trying to figure out who can help me with this, and I came across this guy, Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy was to marketing what Tony Robbins is to self-improvement. Okay, he was the guy. He was the guru. And I saw him in another conference. Actually, I started off with a guy named Joe Polish first, who was a local guy here in Arizona. And I went to some of his, he had like these meetups, the get-togethers. And I went there every month. I went to his meetups, and he did a couple conventions, like a class, I do a master class. He had a couple of big conventions himself, and he had the guy Dan Kennedy come in and speak. This old curmudgeon, he would talk on, he would use a slide projector like they used back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s in school. You know, he was still using a slide projector, and which nobody did. He just spoke to me, though. It was so plain and so obvious. The things that he said made so much sense. And it's not the kind of things that you hear from marketers. He talks a lot about direct response marketing, which direct response marketing is that you are putting money to get a customer to respond. You're not doing branding. I like to say branding is what you're doing. Branding is what advertisers say you're doing when they can't get you business. Okay, they say, "Well, we're branding your company." Hey guys, you're not Nike, you're not, Coke, Pepsi. You can't afford branding advertising. Now, what Dan Kennedy would say about branding is a result of good direct response marketing. So your marketing can have good call to action, can bring people to your door, but as a result of that good direct response marketing, yeah, you'll get some branding benefits. The other thing that where I saw branding is really good, where I consider to brand my company, is in the consistency of my message. If I advertise on Facebook and I give you a link to go to my website, the colors and the fonts and the things should look pretty much the same. So when you go there, there's no mistaking that I'm dealing with the same company. Sometimes there can be a really big disconnect between the ad and the website, or even the showroom that you come into. You got to be a little consistent with the colors and the fonts that you're using in your typeset. Um, that's getting into the weeds a little bit, but it does, visual stuff does help a lot. That's why carpet doesn't work in advertising, because visually it sucks. It works on pay per click, but not in regular advertising. So focus on good direct response marketing, things that get you good results. Track, measure. Learned a lot about that kind of thing. So really helped me grow my business and help guide me. The other thing I did, well, I got to tell you the first move I made. All right, going through this bankruptcy, the tenant, the what do you call it, the anchor tenant, the big dog closed up shop, moved out. This is a brand new shopping center and it's dead. Okay, there's no benefit in me being there. I was worried the landlord was going to come by someday and lock the door on me. I figured I got to get out of here somehow. I never even got emails from that landlord. I mean, they were going through hell because they had property all over the state that was closing up on them. So they didn't even take a second glance at me or come after me in any way. They were wrapped up in the BK, so there wasn't much they could do after that. But before we got to that point, I'm like, what the hell do I do? I got to get out of here. So it's a little showroom. It was a couple thousand square feet. I love the showroom. It was the first time I had a showroom. Until the showroom, I operated out of my house, which was fine. I was just doing a shop at home, had deliveries come to my house, had to put them on the rack. But I went ahead and got the showroom. And I really recommend the showroom for people. Do you have to have a showroom? No. But having a showroom does give you the ability to grow a business. It gives you a place for somebody to work and answer the phones. It gives a place for customers to come to. Gives a place for employees and salespeople to come to. A place for installers to pick up materials. So having a showroom is handy. It does work. I think it's a net gain, especially if you want to have a growing business. If you want to stay small and you want just to be you, and you're not looking for employees and you're not looking for growth, then I think a shop at home is fine. And you might argue that, well, an Empire or Express Flooring, these guys are primarily shop at home businesses and they're huge. Well, they're spending a crazy amount of money on marketing. We can't duplicate what they're doing because they're spending, in our town, they're spending probably $20,000 a month on marketing, where we're spending $500 to $5,000 a month on marketing. It's just what they're doing is not sustainable for most of us. You got the cash to do it, then go big and go for it. But most of us don't have that kind of cash. We're small business owners and we're trying to make a go of this thing. So I do recommend the showroom, but I had to get out of there. So I had three options. One, go back to being a home-based business. I really didn't want to do that. Two, I thought, yeah, maybe I can get an executive suite office, get one of these offices. I'm paying $500 to $700 a month. It's a place for customers to come in. Never liked that idea. I didn't think that was a good setting for me, but it was an option. And then the third option was, hey, why don't I team up with a flooring company? Again, I do window coverings. I never did flooring at that point. And I thought, man, why don't I team up? And we saw that these drugstores were going inside grocery stores and teaming up, fast food companies were teaming up with gas stations. And I thought, man, why can't I do the same thing? Why don't I put my business inside of a flooring business? We have the same customers. We can service the same customers. I can help them with their rent. We're both attracting customers to the store. Great idea, right? And that's what this whole thing is about thinking outside the box, being creative, doing things that you're going to have conversations. And I drove around and I talked to some flooring stores and found this old guy, Carl. He owned the store called the Carpet Broker. He had it for several years. And man, I talked to this guy for 3 hours, got excited, came home, told my wife, I'm like, man, I talked to this guy. He really likes me. I mean, we talked for like 3 hours. And then when I got to know Carl, I learned that he talks to everybody for 3 hours. So I wasn't special, man. Anybody that got in front of him, he talked your ears off. So, but it was funny. I ended up sitting down with this guy, striking a deal, having him move his displays, letting me move my stuff in. I've got to bring in phone lines. I got to have a place for my secretary to work and a place for my salesperson to come in and work. And I got to get along with these other people. And they're like, who the hell are you? And there was a little bit of chaos in the beginning because their head designer had a blind guy that she used and she recommended, and she's like, I don't need him here, and it wasn't her choice. Carl was kind of a mouse too. He didn't stand up to his employees, so put me in a very awkward situation. But again, you got to go through shit. You got to scramble. You got to make deals. You got to figure things out. Now, I thought this was going to be fantastic because he's got customers and we could share these customers. My customers probably need flooring. His customers probably need window coverings. This is going to be perfect. It wasn't. It wasn't as easy and as great as you would think it was. It was good. It was a net gain, but it wasn't as good. Like I reached out to all of my customers to see if they needed flooring. Hey, we're in this flooring store now. And that didn't really get us any business, any flooring business, because we were able to sell his flooring now. And then reaching out to his customers and his database to let them know that we're selling blinds now. So we did have several mutual customers, but not because of that relationship. It did work better and better over time, but it didn't work out of the gate as fast as I thought. We ended up moving into a new showroom. And while I was in that showroom, another big decision I made, Hunter Douglas was the manufacturer that we used, and we sold a lot of their stuff, and we sold other people's stuff as well. But Hunter Douglas is one of those companies that there are people that love them and absolutely hate them. What I learned, I thought, you know what, let me go, taking this journey of marketing and being more concerned about what customers think than what I think was really important. And understanding that Hunter Douglas was a very powerful brand to the consumer. Everybody within the industry looks at it, talks about them as if they're bullies and that they charge too much money. And so they have this impression of Hunter Douglas. Well, what we think about them within the community doesn't matter near as much as what consumers think about and what customers think about homeowners. And I realized that Hunter Douglas was a brand name that women were familiar with, and women were our primary customers and the shoppers. And, and they looked at that brand like they do Gucci or Louis Vuitton purse. It was a wealthy brand, and they're willing to pay more money, even though this product does the same thing as another product does. They're willing to, they trusted that brand name. So I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. I didn't know if it would work or not. And it worked great. I became a Hunter Douglas gallery dealer, and through that, I was able to get my business, which for years I never got over $1 million in business. And in the last years of my business, I was able to get it over $1 million in business. This is back in 2012, 13. And so it was huge. It was a great deal. And and then I was able to do some other things. Like one of the things I targeted was professional single women. No, not hookers, but lawyers, people, business owners. What I found is professional single women, the most important thing to them was trust. So first of all, they had to trust me that I was going to be in their house doing the installation, and I also hired installers around that time as well. But it was still my brand. It was me doing the selling, and then I had other salespeople. We had our brand was we're a small family-owned business. No one over 5'6". Had the family photo in our ads, so they liked us. They trusted us. They trusted the brand Hunter Douglas. Um, and you think about it, with a single woman, trust is so important because they're going to have men come in their house and do work. They're very vulnerable, so you can't have uh, creepy guys coming in your house doing work. When you're a single woman, you you need people that you can trust coming in. So I found that to be a great target audience. And one thing I loved about single women is they didn't have to ask their husbands if it was okay if they spent that kind of money. It was their decision. So they would go ahead and get the work done. Good closing rate with them, and average ticket price was higher for single women. That was a target audience. That wasn't the only target audience, of course. Another good target audience I found was people that had American Express cards, because nobody likes American Express because American Express charges you so much more money than the other credit cards do, but you can charge the customer a little bit more money. You can start off higher and give a discount to American Express card holders, and still be a little bit higher. But American Express card holders spend more money. They take a lot of pride in having their American Express card, and they want to deal with businesses that take American Express. So that was a good key demographic as well that we found in marketing. So we did that in a lot of what we did. Um, Fast forward, I'm in the showroom with Carl, with the carpet broker. I have this beautiful gallery showroom, great displays, and I decided I want to sell my business. It's time. I had this business for 20 years. I did not want to do this for 20 years. I wanted to do different things in my life. So I had this a lot longer than I intended on it, but it was in a place where it was really good. The business did operate without me, so that was very powerful, because if you ever want to sell your business, the best place you can be is to have employees and have systems and processes where you have a business that operates without you. So I had a salesperson, I had a girl answering the phone, and I had an installer. Not a big staff, but I could leave and the business would operate without me, and we're still making money. Customers are getting taken care of. I didn't have to be there. So I was able to, I used a broker. I found this company called the Louver Shop, or they found them. And the Louver Shop was interesting. They were a manufacturer, and they were expanding based on manufacturing. They wanted to expand to Arizona, but they couldn't get any success in Arizona. I was the only retailer that they purchased because I was successful in Arizona, and they hadn't seen that. And and this is another interesting thing to learn, an experience that you go through. Uh, and you learn so much more by your failures than successes. But uh, going through this with the Louver Shop, they changed the name. The company name was Blind Devotion. It was an excellent brand, an excellent name. And just on the surface, the name the Louver Shop is a horrible name for a company. Better to call yourself, Shutters Galore or something, but something named after a shutter. But they changed the name and the brand, and they didn't get the same kind of experience or the same kind of returns. It's like, well, no wonder, And they're their model was very interesting. So what they would do is they would do the marketing for you, they would do the manufacturing, you go out and sell it, and you give them the deposit money, which was build the shutters, and then you pay them the balance for the shutters. You were responsible for hiring or having it installed, and then you kept the profits, which ideally those profits should be, 15% roughly. It was a model that kind of conceptually was a great idea, but it didn't really work out that well. I tried working with them. This is the other point. I got to get to this. I sold the business to them. Now, when I first they came across, Jim Tortorelli was the guy. He came over, checked out my business. Him and his partner Mark. They both came out here and looked the business over and liked it. And then they went back to Georgia. And I didn't hear from them for a little bit. I thought, damn it, I want to sell this business. What do I do? And my mentor, Chuck Troutman, told me at the time, he said, hey, why don't you go out there to Georgia, fly out there and say, hey, I want to see your operation. So I did. I gave him a call. He said, hey, I want to come out there and see you guys. He was very impressed with that. In this deal, he also offered me for the business $70,000. I was trying to sell it for 210. And that just was a gut punch. I mean, that wasn't going to work for me. But through it, we created another offer. One, he paid off. Again, we had to get creative. I didn't like that, so I had to get creative. So we created an offer with, he gave me a job basically and paid me very, very well. Gave me a good contract, which we ended it early, but that was fine because I hated working for him. Just because I don't work. It was a good company. Working for him wasn't a problem. They didn't ask much of me, but I just couldn't stand having a boss. So they gave me the 70K. They gave me, I think I sold the business for 110. So they gave me like so much down, paid me overtime, and then they paid off my Hunter Douglas thing, which was $50,000 to get the gallery. They paid it off. I think the balance was like 40,000. So they paid that off. And then they gave me a huge salary. So I was living fat and happy for a while. And after about a year and a half, it's like, this isn't working out. We went our separate ways and started talking to Carl again. So Carl, his business wasn't doing very well. The guy, I mean, he was 70 years old, but he was never a good businessman. He was doing well when it was just him, but as he expanded, he grew this big footprint, had employees. He didn't manage it well. His manager put a bookkeeper on the sales floor, and she was doing the books. The sales manager was doing the books. Well, she had no experience doing the books, and the bookkeeper had the personality of a bookkeeper. She didn't belong on the sales floor. Okay, so this thing wasn't working out. So I made Carl a deal. Again, I had to get creative. I had to make him an offer he couldn't refuse. I made him an offer that he would give me a percentage of the increase in sales. Okay, once we hit a certain marker at a certain point, he would pay me a percentage because they were doing so many things so dramatically wrong. I knew I could turn this business around on a dime. Well, I got in there and I had the bookkeeper move back to the bookkeeping desk and had her get me the numbers. Well, when I found those numbers, I was like, shoot, you're done. I mean, unless you pump some money into the store, that's the only way out. At his age, he wasn't willing to give up any more of his retirement or put any more money into the store. I'm like, well, your suppliers aren't going to give you stuff because you owe them money. The landlord hasn't been paid, and the Department of Revenue, the sales tax, hasn't been paid. So, you don't have a choice. You close up and file bankruptcy, or you're going to have to loan the business money or get money from somewhere. So he did decide to file bankruptcy. Again, let's get creative here. It is an opportunity for my son and me, last thing I wanted to do was get back into retail. One thing I hated about retail is so much of the money went to the labor and went towards the materials. But I was good at it. And so I saw this opportunity and I got together with my son and said, hey, why don't we uh, buy him out? And when I'm talking about buy him out, I gave him like $10,000. I just did an asset purchase. So I'm like, we'll buy your racks, we'll buy your forklift, buy your desk, your database. It ended up being like 20,000 after everything was said and done. But we got all the displays, and I found a new showroom. And talk about mistakes being made. The landlord, he made a deal with the landlord that satisfied him. Um, the landlord was charging 10,000 for that space. It was way too much money. But it was too big of a space too. We could have got a smaller space from that same landlord. That was the biggest mistake I made when buying his business. I moved the business. Now we changed the name, which that wasn't a mistake. I still kept the URL, still kept his phone number, but we changed the name of the company and moved locations. Now, if I stayed with that same landlord, I could have still moved locations to a better location that was smaller and would fit our needs better. But the landlord would have kept the sign on the building pointing people to our new direction. Now, the location wasn't that valuable, but it did have enough value that that probably would have got us, maybe $30,000 a month worth of business. And I really thought when we took this business over, I thought we were buying into a business that would give us a good 60, $70,000 a month in business. And then I can increase it from there. It really didn't give us anything. I mean, we're really disappointed with the lack of sales that we got from this business. I also gave Carl a job, let him come work for me and continue to sell because he loved people. He loved selling. So, we made him a deal to continue selling and gave him a salary too to help make up for the purchase of the business, which again, I just buy it as assets. I got a smoking deal on it. So, but we had to get creative, right? We had to come up with this plan and deal. I had to put it to the paper. I had to present it to him. Now, there's a lot of you guys that are wanting to maybe develop a partnership and you don't know how to do that. Somebody has to put pen on paper and figure out where the numbers fall. And you just have to get started with something. I had a client hire me and have me out because they wanted a partnership, and for years they wanted to get together for a partnership, and neither the guy that wanted to be a partner or the company came up with a plan. So there was a lot of headbutting about this, but neither one of them had the creativity to come up with a plan or an idea. So they hired me. I went out there and I put together a full plan for a partnership. And that included the pay, it included a divorce, like what happens if you guys split up, what happens if one wants to buy the other out, what happens if somebody dies, what happens with the spouses, do they get a portion of it, what does that all look like if you do a buyout, somebody decides they don't want to be there anymore, maybe they get a portion of the business but not all up front because the business still needs that operating capital. So you got to walk this stuff through and figure it out. And it is a little bit complicated. So hiring somebody to help you out, but realize that a lot of times deals don't get done because there's nobody with the creativity to sit down and figure it out. And that's what this whole video is about. It's about you guys being more creative when you come across either a problem or an opportunity where you can expand or do something with your business. You just got to put it down and figure it out. All right. So on Carl's business, we did that. We moved into our new showroom, and I never picked up blinds again. I could have done it by that time, but I realized that the money was in the flooring, not in window coverings. And for those of you, this is another big aha moment that I realize, and I see this constantly. I wrote about it in the Flooring Business Playbook. I write about this and talk about this often, that the companies who sell the most products move the slowest. I see them max out at about $3 million. People that do kitchen cabinets, countertops, uh, blinds, and flooring tend to max out at about $3 to $4 million in one showroom. Uh, the people that, if you are only selling carpet, luxury vinyl, or only selling hardwood, or only selling tile, if that's your main product, you have a chance to get 5 million faster than you do selling multiple products. And then the other thing that we noticed and learned, that it does take two showrooms to get to 5 million. It's really hard. And it's because there's only so much, even in a very populated area, there's only so much business to be had out of one showroom. Because you're gonna get business, most of your business is gonna be within 15 to 20 miles of your showroom. So the reality is, that's being split up between other people. Um, it's very hard to get to $5 million out of one showroom. Okay, most people max out at about 3.5 to four. Four is stretching it, but you can get to 4 million out of one showroom. I'm sure you can get to 5 million out of one showroom. It's just not easy. Okay, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of creativity, and a lot of marketing. So be prepared to spend a lot of money on marketing, and very good marketing, really dialing it in on two products. You probably need two really key products to get to 5 million. If you market more products, you're probably not going to get there, not as fast. All right. And I'm talking residential retail. I'm not talking commercial. Commercial, you can get there faster, but the margins are lower. So it might not be as worth it to get there in commercial as it is residential retail. But that's up to you. There are different businesses. Some people love commercial business. So it's up to you and what kind of business that you want. Um, so let's get into this. I'm going on without even looking at my notes. Okay. Um, Shane and I started that business, the Carpets of Arizona. We started it with $50,000. That was another big aha, that so many lessons. So moving out of that building and not going with the same landlord, that was the first mistake. I mean, 50,000 is what we had. So there wasn't a choice to start it with more money or less money. We did try getting loans. It's funny when you're trying to get a loan, people say, "Oh, you should have came to me before you started the business," or they say you need 2 years under your belt before you can get a loan. All right, so which is it? Whatever situation you're in is the wrong one to get a loan from a bank. So you get used to being told no a lot, and but don't accept no for an answer. Maybe they're saying no, but that's just them. Um, I know we needed more money to grow our business. Our goal was to get to $5 million within 5 years, 5 million in sales within 5 years. I figured it'd take us about 500,000 in debt to get us there. Um, to grow fast is expensive. And we had a very complicated business in that Shane and I weren't the main salespeople. Most flooring stores that open up, especially small stores, the owners are the salespeople. When the owner's not the salesperson, then think about it, you're paying 10% commission on every job. So everything you take 10% right off the top goes to a salesperson. If you're the owner, you don't need quite that much. So it was a very expensive business to run, very difficult to get it going those first few years. And then the other big mistake was marketing. Um, Even though I gained so much knowledge in marketing, I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I could pump money into it. This was a big aha moment. When you're starting out, you got to build a foundation. You should probably be spending about 3,500 a month on marketing, mainly in digital marketing in your website, and get that thing built up and going. And don't really start to do a lot of print and other things until you hit your 6 to 8 month. But get that foundation going and built. I think there's a path to 1 million in your first year. Uh, on that path, you'll hit about 300,000 in the first 6 months, and then you'll go a little bit faster in the back 6 months. But those first 6 months, you're building a foundation. You're getting your name out there. You're starting to attract customers. You're starting to get a little bit of referral business. Repeat customers can come in. So it takes time to grow a business, okay, from scratch. And uh, so give yourself a little bit of time and a little bit of grace to get there. If you pump a lot of money into it up front, then you're going to see that a lot of it's going to be wasted on bad marketing, because that marketing, it needs to be repetitive in order to work, and you need to dedicate 5 or 6 months to get it, whether it's digital, print, whatever you're doing, radio, TV. It takes a commitment of time to get those things to work. Nothing works right away. You're competing against so many marketing messages. There's no way to get it work right away. So I thought, with my knowledge and skills with marketing, I thought I could beat the odds, spend some money, and attract customers. So I was willing to do that, take that risk. Didn't work out very well. So we struggled. We struggled like hell to get there. I didn't have any experience in the flooring business. That didn't really hurt me. In fact, that probably helped me more than anything. Sorry, hope that's not insulting to some of you with tons of experience. But again, when it comes to attracting customers, there's something I did when it came to marketing and when it came to selling. I just listened to customers. I was truly curious on what did they say, what did they type in, what they're looking for, about their project. I'm curious about their project. I put signs all over my showroom for things like, if I heard a customer said, I had customers, we plan on living in the home 3 to 5 years and then we're going to sell it or rent it. That's a quote I use because I figure that's customer, that speaks to them. So we have a product that's good for first time homeowners that are going to live there 3 to 5 years and then they're going to sell or rent the home. If you could start a conversation going on in your prospect's mind, that is the most powerful thing you can do in marketing. So we had our key products and the signage and the things that we had. I would pay attention. So the salespeople would work with the customers and I would stand within earshot and listen to the conversation. I would also look and observe the customers. It was really funny. I mean, nobody ever saw the signs. I had all sorts of signs that were right in your face. I had them on the floor. I had them so when you walk there, we had this carpeted area where I said, hey, why don't you take off your shoes? I had a really cute cartoon sign. Take off your shoes and walk on the carpet and see how it feels. Nobody ever took off their shoes. We had signs about financing. Nobody asked about financing. We introduced it to them, but nobody would ask about it. So the signs work in support. Signs work two ways. One, they support the salesperson and they support the salesperson's message. Salesperson could point to the sign and tell them about a product, tell them about a sale, tell them about pricing. Whatever the sign says, it should be supporting the salesperson's message. Then it also worked from an ambience standpoint. You want that ambience, the showroom, by and large, to be clean and uncluttered. You don't want sample books everywhere. You don't want to carry everything that's available and give your customer a lot of choices. Customers don't need a lot of choices. They need to have a few good choices. But the more choices you give a customer, the less likely they are to make a decision. And sometimes you make that space so uncomfortable that it makes beautiful products look ugly because they're crowded in the space, or I don't have enough space to stand back and take a look at it. So how you display things is how you want your customers to respond, how they look at a product. The signage is important, the space is important. So you can do a lot of things to influence people, how they feel about a product, and how you present that product. If I was a supplier, that's the number one thing I would do. I would create a beautiful display that attracted customers and made them want to buy there. I would also put suggested retail prices on my displays and offer discounts to my vendors so they can offer that to their customers. that stuff works. It works really well. That's what I do with my clients, is we get them to price their showroom out and offer discounts. That stuff works visually, and it just practically it works very well. I wanted to see, did they mention the ad? Like we would put out ads and different discount sales and specials. Nobody ever mentioned that. Like they would come in because they were in the market for flooring. They didn't come in because they saw a discount. Uh, they came in also because we were close and convenient. They came in because we had a lot of five-star reviews. And at that time, early on, we were the only ones with a lot of reviews because we realized the importance of it right up front. Now it's not as powerful because a lot more people have gotten on board with reviews. You still got to do it. It's still powerful, but it's not a competitive advantage like it used to be back then. Because I still think if you got 40 or 50 reviews, you're good, even though your competitor has 500 reviews. I think if you're close and convenient, somebody's still going to stop into a store with 40 reviews, 45-star reviews, if they're close and convenient. Being open on Saturdays was important. Having time for the customers to come in. Now I did for 2 months. I opened up on Sunday, and it worked. It worked great. I just wanted to increase business for a short period of time. I worked it myself. I didn't have anybody else come in, but it did work. I didn't want to be open on Sundays. I just wanted to do it for a couple months to increase business during a particular time that I was trying to really grow the business. Uh, but it's up to you whether you're open or not on Sundays. It definitely is a net win. I just, I, from a lifestyle, small business owners, from a lifestyle standpoint, many of you, it puts a lot of pressure on the business to be open, to make sure that you have employees there. If they're not there, then you have to come in. It puts a lot of added pressure on a small business. So when you're a small family business, it's better to be closed on Sundays. I just think from a lifestyle balance standpoint. Banners on the road, which were illegal, but I did it anyway. The worst that could happen is the city would give you a fine. Usually what they do is they give you a warning, and then if you keep doing it, they give you a fine. So they give you a warning, you take it down for a little while, put it back up a couple weeks later. I used to put them out only on Saturdays, but you get to a point where it's like, screw it, I'm gonna leave the sign out there and let's see what happens. So putting signage on the roads, wrapping the trucks differently, just be as creative as you can, try things now with Facebook and that kind of stuff. I was good about that too. I was good about shooting videos. I didn't put them on Facebook as much as I would now. But I put them in my Google business profile at the time. So that worked really good, gave me a competitive advantage there. Putting that content out there was really good. Again, when you're putting that showroom together, I went shopping. So when we put our showroom together, I was curious about signage, fonts, colors. I went to the mall and I just walked around and I wanted to see if a store stood out to me. There was a Bath and Beyond store that just pulled you right in. Great colors, purple and yellow, and they work great together and they really pulled you in. Now, in a showroom setting, I don't think it was as good, but our fonts and our colors were good. It worked. The purple and yellow work great in ads. So it's neat to go shopping and shopping for signs, shopping for color, to go see what stands out and use a color, a style, or something that just looks good. One of the things I love is like the Subway signs for Subway sandwiches are yellow and white. When I created the Carpets of Arizona signs, I did, I believe, white on top and yellow on the bottom, and the sign just looked beautiful. So, looking at other signs to see what looks good, don't just take somebody's advice, and you can go out there and see for yourself. Oh, banners and signs, what looks good in vehicle wraps. Look at things and be observant. What looks good in ads? What stands out in an ad? The size of the ad. If you're looking at a print ad, So if you go shopping online, what stands out? What looks good in websites? Go to other people's websites, see what you like, see what looks good, see what you would like as a consumer. You can go to companies that have bad websites and see what you don't like about it, and make sure you're not doing that. Go to your own website, and maybe have other people go to your website and judge it. We do a website audit for you and see how your website is. So do that kind of stuff. Another thing we ran into was COVID, right? So after, oh wait, I want to go back a second. So I want to go a little deeper into getting money, getting creative, and for those of you that are trying to build this business on cash alone and on the sales that you make, you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure. You know, Amazon, Tesla, all these major corporations operated in the red for several years. And these companies have mega bucks behind them. Why is it that these companies can operate in the red, but you're expected to have positive cash flow in year 2 and 3? It's not easy. So get yourself a credit line if you can, good interest rate. Get yourself a good loan if you can, an SBA loan. Don't put yourself under this undue pressure. Be responsible how you spend the money, but don't put yourself under this undue stress and pressure that you have to be smarter than the Amazon. You have to be smarter than Tesla. Okay. You really think you're smarter than Elon Musk? Come on. The guy, he's absolutely brilliant. And he operated in the red for many, many years until becoming the richest man in the world. So if guys like that are going to operate negative, then, why is it that it's incumbent upon you to have it all figured out right from the get-go? It's not easy. So give yourself a little bit of grace, get a credit line. And we just ran through a tough economy. A credit line can help you go through that economy so you can keep all your employees. Maybe it gives you some time to adjust and to play with your marketing, with the money that you're spending, looking at what you're spending on your rent and your electricity, and looking for ways that you can cut back without putting yourself under undue stress. Okay. I looked at, I couldn't get loans from banks at the time. We didn't have enough business coming in. Credit wasn't bad, but it wasn't good enough to get the loans from the banks. I had been through a bankruptcy about 7 or 8 years prior. So it was getting to that point where that wasn't really affecting my credit as much, but it was still difficult to get loans, good loans, getting an SBA loan. So I had to get creative. I even went to a friend of mine that has loaned people money, and it wasn't a good loan. I mean, I got paid a lot of interest. One time I went to the supplier and asked them to write up my balance as a note. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you're falling behind financially at all, make a call to your supplier, let them know, get ahead of it. Suppliers will work with you, but man, if you don't communicate with them, they hate that. So they'll shut you down like that. So suppliers just want that communication. I called my suppliers often to let them know what was going on. If I was running a little bit late, every year I would call them around the Christmas time, because every year around Christmas over New Year's, we slow down and we were going to be late on paying them. Hey, don't hold my orders. Stay with me. We'll be fine. Just give me a few days here and we'll be fine. Just don't hold my orders. So we were having financial trouble one time, and we were behind with one of the suppliers, and I called them up, and this is actually before we got behind, but I knew it was coming. It was coming kind of fast and furious. I said, hey, will you write a note against what I owe you, bring me back down to zero, and give me a note or a loan for what I owe you, and let me make monthly payments, get that paid off. So we were able to pay that off in like 6 to 8 months, something like that. And it really helped us out a lot. And it was great for the supplier. Got good credit with them and to this day. So, that's getting creative. So there's no supplier that's going to offer you a note. And I don't know if they'll even do it today. One supplier didn't do it. One supplier did. But ask them. You have to be assertive and ask them. Co-op marketing. I got tons of co-op marketing over the years because I always asked for it, and they knew I would use it. They knew I was marketing. So I always got creative with my suppliers and got them to do things that other people didn't. Another thing is when you have, what do you call it? When something goes wrong and you have a claim and the supplier's not giving you a refund for the claim. Everyone's, I need money back from this job. I need money back from this job. I'm sorry, their hands are tied. Okay. They're getting shit from their boss. You know, are you going to burn this bridge and stand on this hill, die on this hill, or get creative and help the supplier help you? He can give you a discount on future orders. He can give you co-op money. There's ways to get that money back that might not directly be on this job. It may be on other things. Same thing when you're buying displays. There are ways for them to get you rebates, get you more money back. Be creative. Don't always wait for them to make the suggestion. Sometimes it's on you to make the suggestion. There are no rules to the game, okay? The rules are made up as you go along. You have to get creative with what you want to do. COVID. Uh, COVID, I saw the same thing as with the crash in 2008 and 9, that the banks started cutting down our credit lines. This is a good example of learning from the past. Okay. Knowing that the banks were going to slash our credit lines, I went ahead and borrowed the money out. I didn't need it, but I didn't want to be cut off all of a sudden. I'd rather take that money, borrow it at whatever interest rate, set it aside in the bank, and if it's the all clear in 6 weeks, like they said, which it wasn't, then I just pay the money back. Okay, it cost me a little bit of interest. That was good insurance. So I went ahead and did that. We didn't need the money. In fact, we got the PPP money and able to pay back all those loans, but made myself prepared for that. Before COVID, the economy was just taking off. It was going gangbusters. Everybody thinks it's COVID that made the economy take off. No, the economy was taking off before COVID. It stopped, and then it went even further. I think COVID did put a booster under it because it cut down other expenses such as travel, fuel, things like that. So people did spend money in home improvement, and we took off like everyone else did. Right. But we didn't know how to handle things as far as here's this pandemic and the situation where they're telling our employees, stay at home and you'll still get paid. And after a while, it was just my son, my dad, and me. I said, you know what, guys, get your ass back to work. This is ridiculous. I've had enough of this shit. So even at that time, the employees went to an attorney. And so I'm like, okay, let's reset, guys. I brought them in. I said, look, we made some mistakes. You guys made some mistakes. None of us have ever been through this before. So here's how this is going to go down. If you want to come back to work, come back now. If you don't want to come back, you can apply for your job in a couple weeks, and if we have an opening, we'll consider hiring you back. Because I have one person that didn't want her job back or wanted to continue staying at home and getting paid for it. I never brought her back. The other ones went ahead and came back and accepted our non-apology apology. It wasn't even an apology. It was just to say, hey, we did things wrong. You guys did things wrong. We've never been through this before. Good luck with the attorney because you'll get nowhere. All these attorneys are so busy. Nobody knows how to handle this. It would take years to figure it all out, and it's going to go away. So don't even bother that game. But it was really interesting times, and again, trying to figure things out as we went along. All right, and then so fast forward a couple years, the business blew up. We were going good, going gangbusters. I was single again, and started dating and started having a really good time. My son was running everything. Shane was running the store. And I was just handling the marketing and doing some other stuff here and there, meetings and things like that, meeting with marketing and suppliers, but doing very little. Shane was doing great running the store. and we had a disagreement about something, and I came to him and said, "Hey, you want to buy me out?" He said, "Yes," right immediately. So Shane wanted to be the youngest. He wanted to be what was it, 30 over 3 million or something like that. 30 over 30. He wanted to be one of the top businesses, of the top 30 businesses under 30 years old, which he made that marker. And he wanted it to be his, not both of ours. We got along fantastic. This was one disagreement that we had. And I thought rather than having an argument about it, let me just see if he wants to buy me out. We even had a mediator there. So uh, again, even though I'm creative, I know how to do these things. I had an idea of how much I wanted and what that buyout would look like. Um, I ran it by Shane and the mediator, who was a business coach of ours. Fantastic business coach. I love this guy. One of the best business coaches I've ever hired. Um, he was bad for me, but he was a great business coach. He was great for Shane. And the reason is he was very analytical, looked over the numbers, dialed everything in. It was too analytical for me. Shane is very analytical and did really well with it. Me, I'm more creative. I like the marketing. I like to look at the numbers, see how things are going, but I don't get into the weeds with the numbers. I don't want to get too analytical because I think that can hurt you too. So I didn't get along as good with him as Shane did. But so Shane did go ahead and buy me out for real money. And I also had an investment strategy that I loved. It's called the wheel strategy. And in the next year, it went flat and I just about lost everything. So I had to fire up my consulting business again. But here's something fascinating for you guys. Even though I'm really good at working with flooring dealers, even though I can help you, I was really bad at selling consulting. I didn't have a good plan and I had to learn how to sell it. And be honest with you, I'm still learning how to sell it. So even the position, I'm always having to be more creative and do more things. Just wrote the flooring business playbook, so we've got all sorts of strategies to help out flooring dealers and sell consulting. And we know the consulting works for people, but it's a product and service that people don't do a Google search for. What I love about the flooring industry and being a retailer is selling a product that people search for. There's a lot you could do with marketing for a product and service that people actively search for. With what I do, people don't really search for it as much. I think more people are starting to get consulting and coaching and want that kind of help, but it's still relatively new that people are seeking that kind of help, um, and knowing what to charge for that and how to operate that business correctly. So the other thing that I don't like about the consulting business is it's mostly me doing the work. What I love about being a flooring retailer is I can hire employees and have a business that runs without me. Now I love what I do. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying from a style of business standpoint, it's nice to have a business that operates without you. This business is much about me working one-on-one with clients, but even though, again, going back to, I said before, you could be the best flooring guy out there. I know I'm the best flooring business consultant out there. I know I can help small business owners make $1 million more next year, but that doesn't make it easy to sell it. So knowing that and knowing that you have the ability to help people still makes it difficult to sell. I still have to figure out the conversation going on in your mind. What are the problems? What are the challenges you have? And a lot of that is being creative and having the creativity. Um, if you're in my shoes, I've got the flooring dealer group full of people that are in the industry. You couldn't ask for anything better than that group. And yet it's still very difficult. Even starting that group was very difficult. You would go to services, there's 8,900 people in that group right now. And you go to services, and the majority of those people at services are not in our group. So uh, it's fascinating to see those things. Approach life with curiosity. Approach your business and what you do. I'm wrapping things up here. Approach everything with what you do with that kind of curiosity of, I wonder how to make it better. I wonder how this works. I wonder if people respond. Rather than thinking this is really good, I want to show everybody this. Show people that and wonder what their response is. I'll give you a great example of that. Um, One of the things I talk about often is I started working with companies that do showers, and man, we nailed it with that. I mean, we put that out there and put the price on the shower, did a presentation, and people responded to it. They bought the showers. The closing rate's extremely high. The marketing works really well on it, and we know that works. I mean, we haven't been able to duplicate that with flooring ads. We're trying. The other thing that's worked really well on people's websites is putting their pricing on their website. So the strategy that we're using works really well. And even when we did it, we didn't know if it would work. So it was about me having conversations with the flooring dealers and people that were doing these strategies. Hey, is this working? If it's not working, okay, let's adjust. If it is working, great. We got something that works here. That's fantastic. We got a complaint from one of them saying, we got 2 people in here that want showers. We don't know how to sell them. I said, that's fantastic. We've got something that works. You don't have to figure out how to sell them before we figure out if it works. Because if it doesn't work, you don't have to figure it out. But if it works, okay, now we're scrambling to figure it out on something that works. That's exciting. We can keep going from there. So it's really interesting with marketing and with your customers. If you approach it with curiosity of what they're saying, what they think, what they feel, why they buy, rather than coming at it from the position of I'm the best at what I do. That just doesn't get you where you want to go. So always be curious. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Hope you were able to listen to the whole video. Like, comment, share, do all those things. Get on this YouTube channel. You're going to love it. There's tons of content in here for you. And if you need any help, just reach out to me, put a message below. I'm sure to get it. And let's start talking. It's time for you guys to profit now in the flooring industry.